Hey everyone, this will be a quick video showing you the changes that I made to my Yamato. This sword came very close to the way it is in the game, but for use, there is a number of changes that I made, and some changes that I made just to make it closer to the game once again. Before we go into the changes that I made, I just want to say that if you decide to make these changes, it is definitely on you. You can make these types of changes. A lot of this isn't too difficult, but if you damage the sword, as I said, it is on you. If you want, I can work on your sword. I do have a website where I do sword repair and sword customizing, and I will be giving more info on that on the end. One thing I did is I applied polyacrylic to the Ito. The reason why I did that is because from use this Ito got very dirty. So I cleaned it with a little bit of stain remover, being careful not to get the stain remover on the Samegawa, which is the raised skin. And then after I got it as clean as I could, I applied polyacrylic to help protect the Ito. And also another thing that it did is it made the Ito harder and basically kind of glued it to itself. My first concern was that this would make the Ito slick, but it didn't. Actually, it's still very grippy. The polyacrylic dries pretty rough. So if you're someone like me who likes rough texture on their weapons, you will like this polyacrylic. Another thing I did is the Manuki had some sharp spots, so I gently filed them. You can kind of see it right there. And this one I did it too as well. Now normally I wouldn't do that, but as I said, these were very sharp, and I could actually feel them almost cutting me when I'm using the sword. So I just took a small fine file and carefully knocked the edges down that were bothering me right there and right there. I also added a brass makugi, as you can see, and that's more of a personal preference kind of thing. I like having the second makugi being brass. Now the rest of the modifications I made to the saya. The first modification that I made to the saya that I will show you is to the koiguchi. As you can see, the opening is pretty big on that metal koiguchi, and the reason why I did that is because sometimes when using the sword, I would either hear metal rubbing on metal or the edge hitting the metal. Now, of course, one solution to that would be just make sure to draw enough, and that's definitely a good option. However, the problem is it wasn't just on the edge side. It was actually from the koiguchi right here rubbing on the spine as I was drawing. There were times that I could hear that sound, and it, obviously not good. So I took care of that, and I filed all the way around. That way, there's no way that the blade can come into contact with this, because it was just too much. It was pretty much surrounding the hole all the way around. To do this, I ended up pulling it off. It was glued on, and I just took and filed that opening bigger until it was the way I wanted it. And then from there, instead of gluing it on again, I just put a little bit of a spacer there and pushed down, and once it's on, just like that, as you can see, it takes quite a bit to get it off. The spacer that I used is just a little bit of tape, but I made it so that the tape is a little bit narrower than the koiguchi, so that when it's on there, you can't see it. And as you can see, it's not visible. And I did that so that if I needed to, I could make more adjustments to that koiguchi. And then I just figured, you know what, it hasn't created a problem, I'm just going to leave it like that. Next modification I made is I shortened the sagyu that it had. Now this isn't the sagyu that it had, and I will show you that one right now. Here's the sagyu that it came with. And I shortened this down to 6 feet 2 inches long. Generally speaking, I like the sagyu on my swords to be between 6 to 6.5 feet long, generally speaking. Longer works too, but if I have it longer, then I actually coil it around the saya a little bit. And this is how I coil it around the saya to take up some length if need be. I didn't want to coil it around the saya like that though, because in the game it isn't like that. And the sagyo in the game is about this length. So as a result, I just shortened the sagyo. Then later on, I wanted to upgrade the sagyo because the sagyo works, but it's not the highest quality sagyo. It's pretty low quality. It's like Ito, and this here is actually some type of a synthetic. As you can see, the ends are beaded like this because when I cut it, I just melted the ends because that's how it was when I got it. So this is definitely some type of a synthetic, possibly rayon or something like that, chemical fiber, synthetic silk, something like that. Either way, not the nicest material. So I upgraded to this yellow sagyo that's made of cotton. I've had this sagyo for a long time and just decided to put it on this sword. Now to do this wasn't as straightforward as getting the old sagyo on there was. To put this on here, I actually had to install a little key ring, as you can see. Without the key ring, this sagyo just will not fit in that kurigata. So I put a key ring on there, and I put that sagyo through the key ring. Traditionally speaking, swords that had this style of kurigata had a ring there as well, so this also makes it a little bit more historically accurate. Obviously, it wouldn't have been a key ring, but this is what I had. Eventually, I want to find something else to go here that matches better. Perhaps something that's not a key ring, but if I can get something that matches better, that's what I'm going to do. Even a more gold-colored key ring will look nicer than this silver one. However, to do that, the key ring can't be too big either. You don't want this ring to be too large, doesn't need to be, and if it is too big, it's just going to look weird. So, that's the size that I used. And with that on there, as you can see, I was then able to attach a nicer sagyo. I also touched up the edge on this sword a bit. To do that, I just used a ceramic rod, and then after that what I did is I stropped it. So that's pretty much it. That's all the changes that I made to my Yamato sword. If you're not comfortable making these changes yourself, then I do this kind of repair. I actually run a business where I do sword customizing and repair. The name of my website is www.studentofwarcustoms.com. You can also contact me at novothatom@yahoo.com. I will have the links to both of those in the description. You can also contact me on Facebook on my personal account or the page that's for my YouTube channel, or I also have another page for my sword business. So that's pretty much it. I hope this was helpful and informative. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'll see you next video. See ya!